session. So it's Monday, the May 17th. If you're on the call, please drop your name into the attendees list. So Anita, Gaurav, Ikra, Nikhil, Sakar, Tanuj, drop your name in. A link to the meeting minutes is in the chat in Zoom. So by the way, if none of you ever have the meeting minutes or a link to the Zoom or any of that good stuff, what you can do is go to meet.layer5.io. Kind of a convenient reference. And actually is probably our first topic of the day, which is Nikhil was just noting that this meeting doesn't show up on his personal calendar. And that's a good point of clarification. So if you go to meet.layer5.io, this is probably the best way to stay in sync with the various meetings is by, well, subscribing to the community calendar. It says add to your calendar, but it should open up a subscription request. Is that what everyone else is seeing? If you go to meet.
After adding it, now I'm able.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is a bit, that probably is a change since we moved the meeting around. So good. Okay. Does this not work for anyone since we're on the topic? Add to your calendar. Good. Okay. That's good to hear. Okay. All right. So good. We've almost got everyone's names in here. Let's introduce a couple of new folks if we can. It's a tradition to get to say hi on your first time on the call. So sometimes you end up doing it multiple times when you join different calls, but Haridashan, good morning. Do you want to say hi and introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, good evening. It's evening here in India.
Good evening.
You know, like the weather, and currently encountering a cyclone.
Yeah.
And like I recently joined this community, and the folks are very welcoming. I'm really enjoying being part of this community and like hoping that I learn new things and contribute back.
Nice. Oh, good deal. Good deal. Actually, can you enunciate your first name for me? I didn't say it correctly.
It's Haridarshan.
Oh, Haridashan. Okay. Well, I wasn't too far off, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, great to have you.
However, like my nickname is Harry. People call me Harry.
Okay. Nice. Haridarshan. Good. Nice to have you. Nice. Good, good. And then Sakar, Mr. Michelle. Do you want to say hi?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm from the East Coast, so my time zone is a little bit different. So for me, it's 8 a.m. I don't know what time it is for you. Since you're Central Time, I have to look that up. A little bit about me. If you can't hear me clearly or if I'm talking too fast, please let me know. Feel free to interrupt me. A little about me is that I started off with Udacity. So basically I took their Git and GitHub course. And at the end of the course, there was like pushing to get into open source. So they provided a link that stated a whole bunch of GitHub, a lot of GitHub repositories that has a tag like beginner friendly or first commit. So I looked it up and it brought me to layer 5, and there was an issue where it said learn storyboard, make a navigation page. So I decided like I let the I'm not sure whoever's the person who's responsible for that issue, I'll let them know, like saying I have no experience with React. I know a little bit about Git and GitHub. I did some React, I had to review it, and he said okay, and I got assigned the issue, and now I'm here. Yeah. So that's about me.
Nice. Oh, yeah, man, it's just nice to hear another American boy, American accent on the phone. Good.
You're welcome.
I feel like something like at least half of my jokes might land at this point, so that's good.
Okay.
Nice to have you. And by the way, what great etiquette for you to signal sort of, hey, hey, this is where I'm at in my journey. I'd love to explore this particular issue. It might, I'm at this comfort level, so it might, I might have questions, or it might take longer, or something. Like, yeah, what a great thing to do. I mean, very helpful. Yeah, because there's some of the issues that, hey, like if they never land, that would be unfortunate, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Whereas there's other issues where it's like, yeah, by next, within 24 hours or something like that, some of them are, and it's not easy to tell. I mean, there's like very little way that unless you've been, someone's been in the community for a long time, that they would necessarily know. So that's great. That particular issue and that particular project will be probably a large part of our discussion today about expanding on creating, this learn layer 5, this series of learning paths and kind of a light content management system. So we'll definitely be talking about that today. It's good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, nice to have you. And then Ikra is with us as well. Ikra, you got a chance to introduce on Friday's call, but there's a couple of names and faces here that weren't on that call. Do you mind saying hi again?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Ikra, and I joined the community last week, and I am a postgraduate student here at University of Liverpool. I'm basically from Pakistan, but I'm studying here in the UK, and I have worked on open source projects like 2 years ago, I guess, but I just recently wanted to. I've been learning JavaScript, so I just wanted to explore some front end frameworks and contribute to open source. And I came across this Layer 5 community. Yeah, so I look forward to working on issues and learn more about things. Yeah.
Sweet. Good. Okay. Good. Gosh, did we miss anyone? Everybody's cool. Okay, I think we do have everybody covered. All right. Well, fair enough. We got at least two topics today. The first one, so just by way of introduction, briefly, the two topics, they're both on the Layer5.io site. It's not the only. We don't call it the websites meeting and then only have one website. There's a collection of websites. I think there's between 5 and 6. I think we might have turned one down. And the way to go browse what those sites are or understand what those sites are is, and actually Ikra saw me share this on Friday. Hopefully all of you, when you go to drive.google.com, that you've got, you have a shared drive called the Layer 5 community. And within there, like one of the more prominent documents is this Layer 5 repository overview. In this doc, you will see links to the other websites. So there are a few frameworks at play. We've tried to keep them, how should I say this? The core frameworks of what the sites are built on, we've tried to keep them to a smaller number. Even when the framework has been limiting, like Jekyll, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't, there's a proposal to move off of Jekyll onto Docusaurus, which is in part what, well, like this site explicitly is a documentation site. And Jekyll, the theme that we're using for Jekyll, or for this particular site, is missing some things for documentation specifically, kind of versioning of docs, multi-language support. And so there's been suggestions to move off, but anyway, point is, there's a few web technologies at play. This is the list of the sites. So the two that we're kind of, at least that are on the agenda right now, one is called Discuss, and it is, well, it's a discussion forum. This one is a slightly different project than, oh wow, it's an HTTPS as well. I don't want to steal Abhishek's thunder here, or Josh's, but Josh, Abhishek, do you guys want to tell us about what this is, and then can I talk about status of the project itself?
Sure, yeah. So basically we are trying to deploy our own discourse deployment to host a forum, basically a discourse forum of our own. And today's discussion would be around the production deployment of this particular deployment. So the status would be that basically it's, I'd say, 2 steps away, which would be done by today, as in we just have to migrate the DNS. Basically, it's pointing to the staging version of what we had deployed before, and we'll need to point it to the production deployment. And there is one small issue that is going on with respect to the database. Basically, it tries to maintain some socket connections with the database. In case of the staging deployment, it was inside the container, so there wasn't any problem. But in the case of production, it is RDS, AWS RDS that we are using. So I think there needs to be a parameter to fine tune the number of connections that is allowed on Postgres RDS. So that's the only item that is pending. And SSL is set up, email account. Yeah, that's.
So on the Abhishek's voice cut out there a little bit on the third issue, but it's one that I'm familiar with, and it's the notion that, and by the way, any of you are welcome to go grab an account on discuss.layer5.io. As a matter of fact, this is like probably your last opportunity to grab an account and have kind of full admin to the site, because it's just a staging / development site. As Abhishek and Josh work to deploy this into a production ready environment, there's as a matter of fact, it's Anita, it's something that we've kind of talked about a little bit, and Nikhil and everybody else, that there's eventually need for people to be moderators of the forum. And so anyway, the email account, that third issue about the email account, is that when you sign up, you'll get an email that says, welcome to the forum, or if you make comments, or if someone replies to your comments, you get emails from the system. And right now, those come from a personal email address, not from a generic email account. And so we need to go provision a generic email account. That's kind of the third issue. Quick question is, am I sharing? Okay, no, I'm sharing just Chrome. Okay. Good. So Abhishek, going back. So it sounds like this first one will have does everyone understand this, by the way, the need to switch from DNS pointing to one system and then pointing it to the next? And I'm asking solely for everyone's benefit, everyone else's benefit. I'm asking so that everyone can learn if it doesn't make sense.
I have a question, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So DNS, that's responsible for mapping a IP address to a name.
Yeah.
So this says, I'm just going to read what it says. I know everyone can see. DNS changes in Discuss Layer 5 IO to point to the production development. So you're saying that the production development has an IP address and you want to change the discuss layer 5 to point to that, the production IP address.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You articulated it well. I'm kind of writing it in this form here, which is to your point, like there's two deployments of that website. The one that we were just looking at when I typed into my browser discuss.layer5.io, yeah, the DNS system resolved that name discuss.layer5.io to whatever IP address or whatever location that point, whatever IP address that points to, x.x.x something. And the new system that's a bit beefier and is, is configured slightly differently, it's at a different address. And so, yeah, for that domain, we need to go into the domain, the DNS management system, and swap out x.x.x with y.y.y, so to speak, so that next time that someone looks up this domain, it sends them y.y.y, not it sends them to the new production system. Yeah, kind of. Sometimes DNS is very convenient in that way that it's a very simple, like it's like a 5-second change, so to speak. Like, but you can totally change where people get routed to, where they point at, and so yeah, really convenient in that way. So the servers, the development deployment and the production deployment, those servers that are running the website, they're not authoritative for what name they have. Like they're not announcing to the world, I'm a discourse instance. I'm called discuss.layer5. They're not telling the world that. Rather, the DNS registrar, or for that, when you go to register a domain name, that's usually where you register, is where you would also manage your these addresses, these various records, like, and without going into DNS further, just to say, yep, that there's a separate point of control so that you can reroute people or reroute requests, which is powerful, convenient, powerful, dangerous. It's funny, a lot of times people, like when people are having issues in general with the computer systems at work, there's this age-old saying, like, it's the network, like it's the network's fault. It's not that Microsoft Word isn't working, or and so a lot of times DNS is a very central service to how networks function. And so it's DNS's fault like half the time. So
Thank you for the clarification.
yeah. All right, fair enough. So that one's a fairly easy change. The second one is sounds like is completely solvable. It just might take a few minutes to expand the number of connections. So this, Abhishek, this is because that RDS instance is used by multiple websites. Is that the deal?
No. Same container establishes multiple, and
Oh, I see.
it kind of recycles the connections, but I'm not sure if it is recycled from the RDS side.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. I'm curious, does Discourse in their installation, in their administrative instructions, did they talk about RDS specifically?
No, on every AWS deployment, I see that they use internal Postgres and not RDS. So,
Oh, oh, geez. Okay. All right. And then this third one, that's very solvable. We just go create a new email, a new user account, and that will be a service account. dedicated to, ideally, it doesn't necessarily have to be dedicated to discuss.layer5.io. There's a few other utilities that, well, a few of you have worked on that could also use this same like robot account, service account. One of those, there's two of them, and I'm hoping Blossom might be able to come on the call. She was working on, so all of you that are here, you've probably filled in your newcomers form. So if you go to layer5.io/newcomer, it again, well, actually, speaking of DNS, there's a DNS entry that just points you to a Google form. Okay, that's all right. It's an okay experience, or you can be the judge of how you experienced it and whether or not it was okay. It's probably normal, but it's not highly curated. It's not the best. Nikhil, do you remember? So there's a collection of you that are transitioning us off of that Google form into a web-based form. Nikhil, do you remember the URL to that?
Community/web
Community/
web, WEB form, FORM.
Oh, web form. Okay. So these are the same questions that are in that Google form. They're going to be put, first class, like into the website here. So it's the same set of questions initially. I think it ends up being, well, maybe fewer steps, maybe not. It changes the experience a little bit to say, well, hey, why are you here? Well, hey, maybe I'm here to, this language is a little bit sensitive as well. It used to be like, I'm here as a contributor, which was synonymous with developer. It's like, well, that's not accurate. Like, there are users here and they definitely contribute. Some of you might join these calls for a long time and not actually submit any code, and that's just fine. Like, that doesn't mean that you're not contributing. You're here asking questions. You're here expressing an opinion. You're here just being silent. Like, it's you're here. You're contributing in that way. And maybe that's standard by, but just irrespective, like all of these roles or all of these hats that anyone might wear is a contributor hat. And so, anyway, point is that Google form is moving over here to a web-based form. Okay, great. Well, when someone gets done and they submit the form, when they click submit, they should get an email that says, welcome to the community, and here's some additional resources, and make sure you jump into the Slack if you have, whatever it says. Well, who's that email coming from? Like, what email address does that look like it's coming from? Well, this is an opportunity to use that same generic service account. So what I'm getting to is, I don't think it needs to be dedicated to discuss. There's a need for it here, and there's also a need for it in another unfinished area. Nikhil, I'm going to call on you again. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, this deploy a service mesh. This URL isn't linked anywhere else on the site because it's not quite ready. It's almost there. This is a form that a couple of you have worked on. It's a questionnaire for people to understand the technology that's being used here. It's service mesh stuff, and people can fill it in. And really, in order to get a good assessment of whether or not they should use a service mesh and which one, we ask that they fill in the form to take the assessment. And I wonder if this even, I think it might send an email now. But who would that email come from? That's the question. So yet again, another place to reuse that same email address is my point. We'll see if I get an email here in a moment. I'll share it with you. Okay, fair enough. So Josh, okay, actually I did. No, I didn't get an email. Josh, so Abhishek spoke to us about the systems administration of making sure that website is transitioned and ready to go. from a forum moderator and a user's perspective, how are we on some of the outstanding issues that we were facing? Like,
Yeah, so the one of the outstanding issues still persists, and we are still working on it. But so like Abhishek has opened mm, another discussion on discourse, but and like recent just now I just supplied the information, but I don't think they do have any solution for this, because like I raised this question last time and they didn't come up with any solution. So yeah, that problem still remains, but apart from that, the UI changes, the login model, and hero changes, and when you migrate, so what all change when you will be migrating. So uh, how to look forward to migrate the css files and the assets that we have loaded onto it. So there is no other specific way to copy the configurations. We'll have to do it manually, as I've seen, but it won't take much time, because like I've already made the modulated code, written it, so it would be like very easy, I guess. So like once we just get past the image upload issue, I think we are already almost done. Apart from this, whatever the UI changes or all those things are yet to be changed. So like those are I think we'll have to once we do a production deployment, we can jump on a call, and we can do it on the spot it at because like most of the things are when like most of the things we'll find when we explore all of those items. So
okay. So to recap there, you've spent however much time reviewing most of the settings, reviewing and installing various plugins, and as you transition off of, or as we transition off of this instance to the production instance, sounds like that there isn't a convenient way to export the config here. Rather, you've got to go back through and, or at least from the, like that config might be persisted somewhere on the file system. And maybe there's a backend way of doing this, or a database centric way of doing this, but it sounds like instead you're going to go through and just reconfigure these manually in the new system.
yeah, so like if by the time if we do not find any solution, then that is only the one. But yeah, I'll check once more.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's small enough, like sometimes trying to automate the task takes more time than just doing the task. But yeah, it would seem to me that part of the automation, part of how how discourse might facilitate this very migration might be that a lot of these settings are persisted in the database, in the Postgres database, and you might be able to transition them that way. But okay, good. So you guys are actively chasing down what's really what we consider to be the only last outstanding blocking, kind of blocking issue. And that's the fact that anytime you try to upload, a user or an administrator tries to upload a JPEG or a PNG, like in a thread that they're having, that they can't, they get an error. So, okay. Josh, by the way, I don't know if this is configurable, but if we could, we wouldn't point people away here, but we would point them to.
Uh, yeah, so like one another point is so I if basically we'll look into the migration after like I guess if there's a configuration issue for the image upload, I guess we can solve it or by like in the production deployment if it does not occur and there might be some issue while the development one. I don't think we should risk the migration settings. Like there is a solution for it, but I feel that it might risk the image configuration as well. So that's why I'm in support of like,
Yeah, manually
yeah.
configuring. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I just lost the question which you're on this page.
Oh, just a small note that of the notification that we're sending to users is that this hyperlink takes people to kind of this generic, like building a discourse community. And so we might want to update this hyperlink to something else.
Yeah.
Or nice. Okay, good. All right. Well, it sounds like we're on the very tail end of this thing. So this is great. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it could be that in the new production deployment that just there isn't an issue with uploading PNGs. Abhishek, have you guys tried that yet?
No, basically DNS is a key. Like we cannot access it without it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks guys. Sounds like we're on to the next topic, which is the well, it's layer 5 IO. I guess we should start calling it Learn NG. But Nikhil, do you want to tell people about this? Kind of take us through where we're at and what if there's things that components and things that some of us might be able to pick up and work on. Some of us like Ikra, Hardashan. I think Soccer's already working on one, or at least be able to describe it to them to the extent that they think it's interesting. So Nikhil, do you want to do that? So Nikhil might be having audio issues or might have stepped away for a moment. I was
disconnected.
Nikhil, do you want to tell people about the effort and then talk about whether or not there's items that if people are interested, they might pick up on?
Yeah, sure. So as you all can see, we are planning to have a new upgrade to our current layer 5 site, which will be adding a section subsite within it, which is the learn.layer5. Layer 5
So that's unfortunate because that means you all are going to have to listen to me for a little bit more. All right. So the brief of it is this Layer 5 IO as a website. As a website is it was previously running on Jekyll. That was the framework not robust enough to handle where we wanted to take the site and really expand on it and totally change the way that it looks and all that. And so 160 something of you have contributed to the site, and I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's cool. One area of the site is called layer5io/learn. And when you go there, there's kind of 3 sections of materials that are available to people to learn about the tech at hand. So there's some books, workshops, and some interactive labs for people just to, to test out using the projects that you all contribute to here. And that's good. Those are helpful resources, and these are nice. But what we're looking at doing is expanding on this learn section by adding in a few learning paths. Like, hey, if there's some ad hoc, there's a workshop you can attend, great. There's maybe a book that you could read. Okay, that's very helpful. There's a couple of ad hoc interactive labs that you can take. Okay, thanks. But if you were trying to systematically walk through understanding what a service mesh is and how to run it and how they interface with Kubernetes and what these standards are and all this stuff, like there's a whole learning path to that. There's a whole couple of courses to that. And so Nikhil, are you back?
Yeah, I am, but it seems like the network is causing a lot of trouble, so I might get disconnected again. So better you continue.
Okay. So then the short of it is that this is that new Layer 5 IO site is built on Gatsby as a framework, and so that's a React-based framework. Good. As we go to build in kind of these learning paths, like a light learning management system, starting from scratch doesn't sound fun, and so we've been inspired by well, there's a learning site, a tutorials site that's written in Gatsby as well, and it so happens to be by Storybook. The Storybook technology, it might be interesting to us, and it might be good. It's actually very relevant to creating React components and that kind of a thing. Great, but that's not what we're interested in at the moment. What we're interested in is the fact that they have a tutorial site that has, well, what we would consider these 4 learning paths. Like if you want to design systems for developers, like great, there's a learning path here. This is some high level info about what you might learn in this course. In this course, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's like 8 sections. Great, okay. And anyway, so this component is a Gatsby component. Gatsby component. This is an open source site. We're looking to base the next generation version of the Layer 5 Learn site, the LearnNG site, on Storyboard's tutorials site. And the goal is to use the same layer5.io, expand on the current site, like not to create a subdomain called learn.layer5.io. We could, but because both of these sites are built on Gatsby, and some prototyping has been done to see that we can just more or less pull these components over and restyle them. That's where we are right now, is having identified the fact that we want to reuse that other site, the fact that there are a set of designs around what we would like for this next generation version of the Learn section of Layer 5 to look like. So I'm opening up this tool this tool Figma, which all of you, if you don't have access to, please signal and you'll get access to this. These are just wireframes for what that new version of Layer 5 IO/Learn would look like. And these are wireframes. Then we get to some high fidelity mockups over here. So that's where we're at. There's a few of you that have begun to take individual components, like take assignment of a component and begin to, to base that component, that React component, off of Storybook's tutorials components, but to restyle them in accordance with the design in here. This up here is actually the latest design, and I think it's what we're going after. The reason I say that with any or rather, it is what we're going after. The reason I say that with a slight bit of hesitancy is that these colors are pretty bold. Maybe we end up with slightly different coloring, but other than that, I think that the layout is what we're going for. So cool. So then with that, how do we best go about breaking down these individual components and for those that are interested to work on migrating them? Nikhil, do you want to give a tour? what that is?
Yeah. So for the current in the current progress, what I could say is there are 4 people currently involved for 4 different components. The one is the learning path homepage. All 4 has an issue opened and one people is assigned to them. Chinmay, the only progress is for the overview page. That is the one on the right. Yeah. So the thing is, we basically first need these 4 components to be ready to progress further with the site, which is the learning path homepage, the sidebar, the course overview page, and the chapter homepage. So this would be the chapter, the course overview page, and Chinmay is currently working on it. He has some level of success. He is able to transfer data and get it, but he was stuck somewhere. So we had some discussion today afternoon, and he's still working on it. Hope to see some progress by this week itself.
Cool. Okay. Very good. So he's focused. I suspect, is he focused on the entire page or just the?
The entire page.
Okay.
So the thing is, for this page particularly, he will also need the learn path card components, the homepage component. So he is just creating some demo card components to get a idea of how it will work, so that the user can click and be directed to this page. And apart from that, we have Ikra, Saker, and I
Hardash.
don't remember the other person's name.
Hardashin.
Okay. Yeah. The one they are working on the sidebar, the course page, and the learning path page. But I guess all 3 of them have been occupied with some work. But yeah.
And so, by the way, so it's Soccer, Ikra, and Hardashin. You just because we're putting your names here doesn't mean that you have to go work on this if this isn't interesting. So it might take you a little while of snooping around to figure out if it is interesting. But more or less, I think what's being said here is that each of these different components, like this, I don't know what this is called, but this menu and this frameworks component, and then the page, this page itself, kind of the layout of this page, and this is, I assume, would be a reusable component. The code snippets, like that. Each of these are independent, units of work. That if these are of interest to you, just to feel free to slap your name on them. Nikhil, do we have issues opened for each of the individual components that?
Yeah, we have 4 of them, which could be the first step for moving out. 4 issues are open for learn.
So here in GitHub, I apologize if the font is small, but here in GitHub, there's a label for this area of work: area discuss, area learn. Okay, so there's 4 issues: chapter homepage, the courses homepage. It seems like we might be able to break these down a little bit more. And I don't know, Nikhil, is this as far as we can go, and without, I know there's more work than this, but do we have to have these done first before we can break down the rest?
Actually, the problem is because the main reason I'm more in the part of getting only 4 issues than moving ahead, because suppose someone is working on it and someone pushes it here, and someone else is working on the same page but a different component, then he might face some conflict issues and
Oh, I see.
get trouble. That's the reason I was more. If someone could 4 issues, these would be the base on which the whole site would get up. So once we have these 4 components ready, then we can iterate over time. Then we can divide the work into much smaller components.
Yeah, I wonder if, I mean, I wonder if we're kind of doing the wrong, like if Chinmay's taking on the whole page, that includes like, 3 or 4 components. I wonder if he should be doing that. I wonder if we should like this, if this is an individual component, that there's a small advertisement, like that's that's something that can be worked on, you would think, individually. I don't know that we're going to have this review by, and if we do, we should not have my ugly mug on there. That's not going to help with
So the thing is, when you will work on that component, I would like it will be mostly just to create a wireframe. Or suppose that the content component which you will be creating, it will be a demo. The design might iterate with time. So just to get things ready so that we can visually see that okay, site is progressing. Creating a page in general would be better than with others can hop onto suppose that content component which would be needed. The design might require that addition of the individual chapters and the time involved in
Okay.
designing that particular card. So that could be break down further.
So if someone is interested on this particular project, the Discuss project's a little bit odd in that we're reusing an entire discourse, like reusing another site, which means that it's mostly, it's not that it's mostly configuration of that site. And I don't mean to take away from the work, like there's work there, but it's hard to break down that work for many people to jump into. Whereas a site like this is a little bit easier to break down the work. So if people are interested, it sounds like one of the things that they can do is peruse 2 areas of code. One is Storybooks tutorials code, and the other one is the code that's being migrated now into the Layer5 IO area. Nikhil, where is this here?
Which one?
For the Layer5 NG, the Learn NG.
Yeah, the learn-layer.
Oh, okay, here. Okay, so this is the
I've created this 4 components which could be populated when we progress.
Okay.
Just to work with the paths which I've added while working on the card.
Cool. So I'm going to put a link to this here. Okay, and part of that then is there's also a link to the original Storybook, their open source site, this tutorial site here. Oh, oops, that's not it. To their GitHub, right? Here we go. Cool. So these are the components that are being migrated. Okay. Okay. There's like for ICRA specifically, and maybe for Haridashan, there's if React is your thing, then Meshery UI is potentially another area that is a fairly juicy area. That application, its front end is in React, and it needs a lot of help. It's doing okay. It just needs to do a lot better. And so okay, with that, do we know, are any of these folks on the call today? I wonder if we might get an update. Oh, soccer. Yeah, I guess soccer. The particular issue that you were starting to chew on is this one here. Any I know you were giving a status update in Slack a little bit ago. Do you want to speak to that here as well?
Okay. Can you scroll down just a bit, please? And if I'm talking too fast, again, if I'm not clear, please let me know. I would like everyone to hear me just clearly. Can you click on the last link? Okay. So basically, what I did is every day I allocate 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. And for the last week, I'm just reading off what I put. I installed Node.js. I created first React app, and I'm using W3 schools to learn React because I previously used React, but I forgot most of it because I didn't practice what I learned. So now I'm just reviewing the React before I started. So if you go to the first link where it says W3 schools React render.asp, that's the section I'm in now. I have about maybe four more sections to go. Then I will have React finished. Once I have React finished, I would start creating the navigation component. Once the navigation component is finished, I would I have to read how to contribute it. Like there's probably a contributing guideline somewhere. There's probably a way where you can set up the project to figure out how to implement it. But as of right now, this week I plan to finish the relearning React. Then from next week, I'll put in a navigation. Then probably midweek of that, I would start reading what I need to read to get this application set up on my system. Then once that happens, I can put in my React. Then from there, I would probably reach out and ask, okay, what is the right way to push this up to GitHub? Because I still haven't learned that. So that's basically where I am now.
Makes logical sense to me. Sounds like a good, yeah, you're right. There are contributing instructions that do talk about Gatsby itself and the Layer5 IO site itself, how to build it. And yeah. So I'm sensitive to the time in part because I have another meeting that starts right in 5 minutes. And there's the old timers here, Josh and Nikhil and Tanuj and etc. And Adi. And I'm going to set you aside for a moment and talk to Ikra and Haridashan. Any Ikra, Haridashan, anything that has struck your fancy, any questions?
Okay, so I have been assigned the issue of the courses homepage. So I'm basically right now I'm going through the storybooks components and just going through the code and just checking some things out. So yeah, right now that's what I am working on.
Sounds highly appropriate. So yeah. Nice. Okay, good. I didn't realize you had jumped in. So yeah, good. Okay, fair enough. Haridashan, no pressure, but is this type of are these projects of more interest to you, or is Meshery more of an interest to you?
Like anything related to front end, like really strikes me, because I generally like doing front end projects and like even back end. But in case of Meshery, all those service meshes and things are new to me. So like I'm currently learning those. So eventually maybe I will contribute to the Kubernetes and Docker thing, like all those things they're related to DevOps. But currently I'm looking just to contribute into front end or back end. Like so these type of projects, like it's actually good like for me to start with these projects.
Totally makes sense.
Like I'm not sure, like I just received that in the chat I have the Figma link, but I don't have access to that.
Good deal. So Nikhil, who's on the phone, is a good one to see, or Aditya Krishna, who's on the phone.
Yep.
And they'll no doubt they'll hit you in Slack to make sure you have access.
Yeah, fine. That's good then.
Very good. Anything that we missed today?
So just a good news that the production deployment, the issue of the image gets resolved, and we are able to upload images up till now.
Sweet. Good. Nice. Okay. Then that was the only unsolved mystery. So
Yeah, like I think
font is
Yeah, so I'll start migrating by today.
I think as I predicted before, it's a TLS issue because we offload it with API gateway, and this is of direct deployment with Let's Encrypt. That's the only thing that is different.
darn TLS. Let's encrypt to the rescue. Well, maybe they should update their error, by the way. That error code was at 422. Does that
Yeah.
point to TLS at all? Like,
Their error code is like all of them are misled. It's like I've faced a lot of others also while deploying today, so it's all misled.
okay. Well, fair enough. I need to jump off. Anything else that we want to talk about?
I think we are fine.
Nope.
Wow, nice to see you all. Catch you on the next one. Talk to you very shortly.
But
Okay.
yeah.